Ahead of Nigeria's elections on the 28th, the country's Inspector General of Police, Suleiman Abba, has given his word at a strategic meeting with the Assistant Inspector General of Police and Commissioners of Police of various divisions and states that the force will be impartial in the course of their duties during the elections. The IGP said, "Police will be impartial during the election. We have been impartial and we will continue to be impartial. We will strategize to make sure that we are non-partisan and that we exhibit impartiality on the days of elections and days after." On some of the preparations undertaken by the force for the coming elections, he is quoted as saying, "We have been lecturing our officers and we have conducted trainings just to make sure that our men understand their roles. We published guidelines for them with regards to their conduct during the election. All these are tailored towards making them non-partisan and impartial." The IGP also warned mischievous persons to desist from making trouble before, during, or after the polls, as they will also face the law. According to him, "If you are not going to add any value to the polling unit, stay away. Anyone who tries or who attempts to disrupt the election will be arrested and prosecuted. The attempt can be outside the polling unit, around the unit, collation centers. It can even be after the declaration of result. Whoever wants to take the laws into his own hands should have a rethink because we will not tolerate their acts." He further issued a warning to those sorts saying, "It is better you leave if you know you cannot behave yourself well at the polling unit because attempt to intimidate anyone is an offense. Soliciting for votes is an offense and carrying of weapon is also an offense." The Inspector General also gave his word about safety of the electorate, that security was guaranteed. "We will make sure that nobody disrupts the peace of the electoral processes, and we will ensure that the place is secured enough for electorates to cast their votes and secured enough to prevent crimes outlined in Section 129 of the Electoral Law." Those were his words. And still on Nigeria, the people at the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS have said that there has been a steady decline in the spread of HIV/AIDS in Nigeria in the past 5 years. The institution's investigations that were independently conducted by the UNAIDS, Health System Strengthening, Integrated Biological and Behavioral Sentinel Survey, and the Federal Ministry of Health show that a 54% reduction in the estimated incidence of HIV in Nigeria between 2003 and 2013 has occurred, down from 46% in 2003 to 21% in 2013. The research showed that new HIV infections have reduced since 2003 when it stood at 348,564. In 2013, the rates of new infections dropped to 220,394. Also, HIV prevalence among pregnant women aged between 15 to 25 years dropped by 33.3%, from 6% in 2001 to 4.1% in 2010. According to them, this year started with the great news of the signing into law the anti-stigma bill by President Goodluck Jonathan, a clear sign of Nigeria's commitment to stopping stigmatization and discrimination against people living with HIV/AIDS. Professor John Idoko, a Director General of the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, has said, "It is particularly encouraging that all acts of discrimination against people living with HIV, such as recruitment and termination of employment, denial of access to services such as healthcare, education, association, and other social services, will be reduced and ultimately end." He has advised people not to shun testing because getting tested for HIV remains the best step in the fight against infection. In 2014 alone, over 7 million Nigerians underwent HIV screening and counseling, according to the professor, and that people who are on antiretroviral therapy increased from 132,438 in 2007 to 659,397 in 2013. To conclude, Idoko added that the decline in the estimated incidence of HIV in Nigeria is a welcome development. Ultimately, Nigeria will be able to end the AIDS epidemic by 2030, given the commitment of the government to improving the health of Nigerians and getting to zero new HIV infections, zero AIDS-related deaths, and zero discrimination. And 3 schools in Uganda will be rehabilitated through a grant donated to the country by the Japanese government. The 655 million shilling grant, this is a little more than $246,000, was given to rehabilitate 3 schools in northern Uganda as measures of improving the education standards in the region. Signing the grant contracts at the embassy was Japanese envoy to Uganda, Junzo Fujita, who said the grassroots human security projects are aimed at promoting sustainable community development. The beneficiaries of the donation are Eruba and Obia primary schools in Arua and Gulu districts, as well as the Namasale Secondary School in the Amolatar district, which are usually among the poor-performing districts in the national examinations. Rebecca Bisaso, the head teacher of Namasale, which received some funds for the construction of a girls' dormitory, commended the initiative, saying it will save female students from putting up in the prostitution-laden trading center, which a number of students have had to put up residence in. Bisaso said, construction of the dormitory at the school campus will save girls from bad company and enable them to concentrate on their studies.
Today on Still on the Matter, we get some statistics from Zainab Usman, who tweets, "Female parliamentary representation has improved in Africa. Rwanda 63%, South Africa 41%, Namibia 41%, Senegal 42%, Uganda 35%. #IWD